podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Monday, July the 15th, and isn't it a glorious day? Isn't it a wonderful day? Football won yesterday. A victory for the beautiful game as Spain become European champions for the fourth time. A 2-1 victory over England. Nico Williams putting them 1-0 up on 47 minutes after a first half in which Spain had dominated, England had ceded possession, territory and all the rest, and set out not to win the game, but to not lose the game. As they had all season long, all tournament long, England playing cowardly football. Williams scores on 47, and you thought, well, surely that'll spark England to life. Not so much. We finally saw some life when changes were made. Harry Kane was hauled off. Kobe Mainoo, who'd had another stinker, hauled off. On comes Cole Palmer, on comes Ollie Watkins, and England looked like a team. They looked like a team. They took some control in the game. They were aggressive. Bukayo Saka breaks down the right, plays the ball slightly behind Bellingham. Bellingham does really well to improvise, lays it off to Cole Palmer. First time strike, finds the bottom corner. 1-1, and it's game on. And from there, England, to be fair, did play pretty well for about 5 minutes. And then they stopped playing well. And then they got cowardly again. And on 86 minutes, Mikel Oyarzabal scores the winner. 2 really well-worked goals from the Spanish and a well-worked goal from England. But this game was everything that was wrong with England throughout the tournament and everything that was right with Spain. Spain's belief in themselves, their mindset, their mentality is absolutely incredible. Now, I do need to correct one thing here. I did say on Friday, I think, that Spain had never lost an international final. Of course, they did lose the 1984 Euros final to France. That's my mistake. But this was their 5th final and their 4th win. This was England's 2nd final and their 2nd defeat in a row. And all of the mistakes they made 4 years ago, or 3 years ago actually as it was, were pretty much on display here. I loved this Spain team throughout the tournament. I thought they played the best football. I thought the way they were set up was to go and win football matches. Whereas you look at France and particularly England, they were set up to not lose football matches. Spain's front-footed approach, we all knew was going to happen. At England, we could just predict what they would do. We could just predict the fact that they were going to try and be really defensive and hit Spain on the counter. The problem is, when you've got Harry Kane up front, you don't have enough pace to hit them on the counter. When you're playing Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden as 2 of your attacking midfield line, you don't have the pace to hit them on the counter-attack. When you're playing a midfield double pivot of Kobe Mainoo and Declan Rice, you don't have the on-ball ability to really hurt them on the counter, to kill them in transition. Mainoo's good on the ball. Rice is good on the ball if given time and space. Mainoo's good on the ball in tight spaces, but he's not a great passer of the ball. He's just not a great passer of the ball. That's why I've been saying all tournament long, England should have been starting Adam Ward. Because he is a great passer of the ball. And he's a quick passer of the ball. Those passes are sharp, they're incisive, and they're accurate. And he is what England were lacking in the middle of the park. They were also lacking creativity. And yet, Trent Alexander-Arnold did not see the pitch. Did not see the pitch in the semi-final either. Played 6 minutes of knockout football. Came on with 5 minutes to go in the Switzerland game. Played the last 5 minutes of extra time, plus the minute of stoppage time, and then took a penalty. And that's what Trent got in a team that was desperate for creativity. Absolutely shocking. England created less XG at Euro 2024, 6.43. Then Croatia, who had 7.1. And Croatia went out in the group stage. England's last 6 goals at the Euros. Bellingham, 0.05. 0.05. Kane's 0.2. 0.22 actually, tap in. Saka against Switzerland, 0.03. Kane's penalty against the Netherlands. The Watkins winner against the Netherlands, 0.06. And the Palmer goal in the final, 0.03. 4 goals that were considerably less than a 0.1 chance. England overly reliant on moments and on screamers. England got to the final. This is from Lewis FN00 on Twitter. England got to the final, had less shots on target per match than Germany, the Czech Republic, Spain, Croatia, Austria, Portugal, Belgium, Turkey, Poland, Switzerland, Romania, Albania, Slovakia, France, Denmark, Netherlands, and Ukraine. Oh, and Hungary as well, sorry. That's 18 teams. 18 teams had more shots per game, more shots on target per game than England. They had less XG than Spain, Germany, Portugal, France, Netherlands, Turkey, Austria, Switzerland, and Croatia. That's 9 teams. Got to the final, had less touches in the opposition box than France, Spain, Germany, and Portugal. France, who played an uber defensive style of football, were better than England in attack the whole tournament. France scored 1 goal from open play by a French player in the tournament. Gareth Southgate will be in some quarters lauded because at the World Cup in 2018, England got to the semi-finals. At the Euros in 2021, England got to the final. At the World Cup in 2022, they got to the quarterfinals. And here at the Euros, they've gotten to the finals. And people will say that's evidence that he's done a good job. You had Jamie Carragher coming out and saying, it's about the players, not the manager. The manager doesn't make the difference. If it was just based on players, I think France would have won 4 of the last 5 at worst international tournaments. 16 Euros, they would have won that without Deschamps. 2018 World Cup, they won it in spite of Deschamps. The last Euros, I would say, was the one that maybe they don't win. The last World Cup they would have won if not for Deschamps. And I think this Euros they could and should have won if not for Deschamps. Manager makes a huge difference. A huge difference because it's about mindset, it's about belief, it's about a tactical plan, it's about an approach to a game. Carragher said nobody knew who Luis de la Fuente was when he got the job. Well, if you're reading it, maybe that's true. A lot of people were surprised that he got the job. A lot of people were unsure when he got the job, but people knew who he was. He'd been the manager of the under-19 and under-21 team for quite a long time. People knew who he was. It was just a question of, can he make the step up? But the thing with him is he didn't try and reinvent the wheel. What he did was he set about mending the issues in the dressing room, the rift between the Real players and the Barca players that Luis Enrique had allowed to re-emerge. That rift had been put to bed by Luis Aragonés many years ago. Vicente del Bosque kept that rift under wraps. It started to reappear after the collapse in 2014. When Enrique took over the first time, it became a canyon. And then the same thing happened again here, where he fed into it. Now, he's a guy who played for Real and Barca. He knows what both clubs are about. He should have done a better job with that. De La Fuente came in and he sorted that. There is no more issue between the Real and Barca players. The biggest reason is the Real and Barca players are not the stars of the team. Now, in the next couple of years, I can see the Barca players, because you'll have Pedri, you'll have Gavi, you'll have Balde, and you'll have Kubasi, plus Lamine Yamal, obviously, as the core of that Spanish team. And as we look ahead with Real Madrid, it's very possible that there's no Real player in the Spanish starting 11. It's really possible. I mean, look at this Spanish starting 11. The only Real Madrid player is Dani Carvajal. Now, Nacho obviously is one of the important squad players, but he is leaving. But he's also 34, 35. Dani Carvajal is 32. He's not going to be around for many more tournaments. This team will become more about that Barcelona group and what's around them. But that won't make a big difference as long as De La Fuente is in charge, because he doesn't enable the egos. He massages them, he soothes them, but he largely keeps them in their little boxes. And he convinces the players that the sum of the parts can be greater than the individual pieces. Whereas with England, the sum of the parts is much, much less than the individual pieces. Because Southgate refused to bruise egos by dropping Harry Kane, by dropping Phil Foden. Decisions that needed to be made. He wasn't afraid to drop Trent, but Trent was never part of his core. He was afraid to drop Kyle Walker. And this is the difference between them as managers. De La Fuente has done an absolutely incredible job with that Spanish team. And I said last week that what I loved about it was the balance. I love the balance of that team. You've got 4 defenders, none of whom are star names, none of whom are great defenders at this point in their careers. I think Carvajal at one point you could have said was a great defensive right back, and Laporte pre-knee injury was a great centre-back. Lenormand has never been more than good to great. Cucurella's never been more than good to great. And the other two have regressed to good to great. Good to very good, sorry. Good to very good across the board. Unai Simon is a good to very good goalkeeper, not a star. But all of them are consistent. And that's what's key. There's nobody in that Spanish backline who at any point in this tournament turned in less than 7 out of 10. And whether it was Nacho coming in, whether it was Vivian coming off the bench, they were able to give Spain a solid level of performance. Alex Grimaldo, the backup left back, we knew if he was coming in, it'd be a 7 or 8 out of 10. We just knew that. The attack is where you could get variance because you got 2 really, really young wingers in Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. And if you look at the group stage, there was some inconsistency in Nico Williams' performances. But then, once he found a vein of form, he tapped right into that, and he was sensation. Yamal, to his credit, just how on earth is this kid just turned 17? I've never in my life seen anything like it. I've spent more time than I'm willing to admit researching, trying to find anybody that was doing what he's doing at 16, and nobody was doing it. Nobody was doing it. There's players that did it at 17, but he's just turned 17 the day before the final. Nobody did this at 16. And then Spain overcame losing Pedri and having to bring Dani Olmo into the team. Dani Olmo, who, remember, was probably a starter pre-tournament until he got injured and came into the tournament nursing an injury. It would have been quite easy for him to get emotional about the fact that I'm a starter and I'm not starting. I'm fit now. Why am I not back in the team? But he didn't. He got his head down. He got on with his work. And he waited for his opportunity and he performed off the bench. And when the starting role opened up because Pedri got injured, he took it. He took it with both hands and he was absolutely incredible. Alvaro Morata, I mean, you know what you're getting from him in terms of the work rate, the link play, the hold-up play, all the non-sexy striker stuff. You know you're getting that at a consistently high level from him. What you don't know is whether you're going to get goals from him or not. But yet Spain didn't rely on him for goals, and that's where it was key. What you knew you were going to get was world-class play in midfield from Rodri. Ruiz was a different question. He'd been really good for Betis, really good for Napoli. At PSG, though, he's been up and down. He likely wouldn't have been a starter if Gavi was fit. And yet, he's taken that role. I don't think he's had a performance lower than 8 out of 10 throughout the tournament. And for me, he's my player of the tournament, just edging Rodri. Now, in the final, Rodri gets hurt and goes off. Goes off at half-time. And my entire Twitter timeline explodes. England are going to win now. Rodri off is massive. We'd seen in this tournament Ruiz put in great performances. We'd seen Mikel Moreno put in great performances. What we hadn't seen was Zubimendi consistently in this tournament because he'd only played the Albania game in terms of a big chunk of a game. That was his one start. He was good in that game. But he was the fourth midfielder in the group. And yet he came on and I thought he was magnificent in that second half. I thought he was absolutely magnificent. I thought he ran the midfield. I thought he comprehensively outplayed Declan Rice as Rodri had in the first half. And him and Ruiz just found a great level of understanding with each other. One pushes up, one sits back. You go left side, I'll go central. You go right side, I'll go central. Always on a string. Always connected. Always looking for each other when they got the ball. Knowing that pass would be there. I have the ball, you're going to find space. I'm going to know where that space is and I'm going to give you the ball. And then I'm going to move again and you're going to give it back to me. And with Spain, remember, going into the tournament, no Alejandro Balde. They're starting left back, one of the best young left backs in the world. And no Gavi, starting midfielder, one of the best young midfielders in the world. In the tournament, Pedri drops out. Goes into the tournament, by the way, like I said, Olmo not ready to start. At every single time, semi-finals, Carvajal suspended, Lenormand suspended, Nacho and Jesus Navas step in. Vivian comes off the bench. Every time Spain had a moment where there was an injury or a suspension, it was just next man up. And do your job. You do your job. The team functions as a team. And we will win football matches. And that was massive for them. There is not one player who wore a Spanish shirt in this tournament that's going to be heading home thinking, I let the team down. Not one. David Raya played once, turned in a good performance, made some good saves. When he was called upon, he did his job. He knew he wasn't going to stay in the team. He never let his head drop. He looked delighted with himself at the end of the competition because he'd won a medal, but he played a part. And every player in that Spain squad, when they were called upon, played their part, did their job. And that's why they're now celebrating as European champions. Whereas with England, too many players let England down. Kyle Walker was dreadful throughout the tournament. Kieran Trippier was dreadful throughout the tournament. Pickford didn't have much to do. He did most of it pretty well. There's probably one or two moments, though, that he'd look back on and think, could have done better there. I think Saka was overall pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. I think in trying circumstances for him, I think he did as well as he could be expected to. I thought Rice was poor. I thought overall Mainu was poor. Good game against the Dutch, but that was it. Gallagher was crap. Foden was crap. Bellingham was crap. Kane was crap. Cole Palmer was good but underused. Ollie Watkins was good but underused. Ivan Toney was good but underused. Trent was meh. Meh is how I describe his performances, but he was hugely underused. As I said before, England's team was really easy to pick. Really easy to pick. Pickford and goal. Bent right back. Gomez left back until Shaw is fit. Stones and Guehi in midfield. In the middle of the defence, rather. Middle of the defence. That back four and goalkeeper as a 5-man group, that's better than what Spain were putting out there. It just is. It just is. Mark Guehi is better than Robin the Normand. Stones and Laporte, I'd say, are about even. Trent is better than Carvajal. Gomez is better than Cucurella, as is Luke Shaw. I would say Simon is a little bit better than Pickford. But overall, the English group is better. Rice and Wharton as a double pivot. It's not as good as Rodri and Ruiz. They're still very good. It's still very good. The balance is there. You can see that. You don't have to watch it. You can see. You can close your eyes and you can put those two together. Wharton sitting in the middle of the park, dictating play. Quick balls fired in forward seat, gotten wide, using the fullbacks, bringing them into the play. Rice able to go box to box, be the third man runner, get beyond Jude Bellingham in the number 10 spot. Join Bellingham at crashing into the box to join Kane, while you've got Saka on the right. Bukayo Saka at this point in his career is a better footballer than Lamine Yamal. That's not debatable. Jude Bellingham at this point in his career is a better footballer than Pedri. It's close, but it's Bellingham. He's also a better footballer than Dani Olmo at this point. Now, Olmo, I think if it hadn't been for the injuries the last 3 years, I think Olmo would be a better player. But I think right now, I don't think anyone would debate Jude Bellingham's a better footballer than Dani Olmo. Left wing Anthony Gordon. Now, Gordon's not as good as Nico Williams. He just isn't. But he's 75% of him. He's 75% of him. I think that line is about even. I think the marginal gain of Bellingham over Olmo, the gain of Saka over Yamal, cancels out the drop from Williams to Gordon. I think they're about even. But stylistically, they can play a very similar way. And Gordon can give you a lot of what Williams was giving the Spanish team. The outlet. Remember, people said the argument against Anthony Gordon was, well, we're going to have 65% of the ball. Well, England didn't have 65% of the ball. Spain did. They still used their outlet constantly. And whether it's Harry Kane, Ivan Toney, or Ollie Watkins, they are all better number 9s than Alvaro Morata. They're all better number 9s. Their all-round game is better and they're bigger goal threats. That England team, Pickford, Trent, Guehi, Stones, Gomez, then Shaw, Rice, Wharton, Saka, Bellingham, Gordon, and whichever striker. That's better than that Spain team. That's better than that Spain team. And then, if we look at what you would have off the bench, if you need to add the third centre-back, you want to shut a game down, you've got Ezri Konsa. Ezri Konsa is better than Nacho or Vivian. if you want a defensive-minded right back who's not actually a good defender, but you can trick yourself into believing it, you could use Konza there, or you could put on Kyle Walker. He's better than Jesus Navas at this point. If you want a ball of energy in midfield, you've got Conor Gallagher. Not as good, obviously, as bringing on a Moreno or a Zubamendi. Same thing with bringing on a Menu. If you want someone that can be a little bit more a ball carrier in midfield, a bit more of a transition carrier. But it's still good options. But then the options in attack, this is where England are a joke. You could bring on Foden, whichever two of the three strikers you're not starting. Jared Bowen, Cole Palmer, and Eberechi Eze. There's no argument to be made that England didn't have a stronger squad going into this tournament than Spain. None at all. Better defensive players, better attacking players. Spain have the better midfielders. I would say if we look at the three goalkeepers, I would probably just about lean towards the Spanish three. But it's comparable at least. But I think the gulf in the attack is gigantic when we factor in the depth. I think the gulf in the defence is sizable when we factor in the defence. Now, I would say the gulf in midfield is sizable in the Spanish way. But again, overall, England have the better squad. England could have had the better 11. But what they couldn't have is the better manager. Because Gareth Southgate is a coward. As a manager, he's a coward. And the performances and the football that England put forward has been cowardly for his entire tenure. And I'm sick of hearing of the record. Like, the record. This is what he's done. Look what those before him did. Number one, he's had a deeper squad than anybody else. Number two, the quality of opposition has been lower than what Capello and Ericsson went up against. And look at the runs they've had. Look at who they've played. World Cup 2018. Tunisia. Panama. And then they lost to Belgium. So you beat the two teams that, if you hadn't beaten them, it would have been a national disgrace, and lost to the one good team you played in the group stage. In the knockouts, a very mediocre Colombia team needed penalties to get by them. A very mediocre Sweden team beat them 2-0. Played Croatia, lost to Croatia. Third and fourth place playoff, played Belgium, lost to Belgium. You had 3 games against good teams in that competition. You lost to all of them. Euro 2020. In the group stage. England are up against Croatia, the Czech Republic and Scotland. They beat Croatia. Congrats. It's a good Croatian team, but the Croatian team that don't tend to perform at the Euros. You drew with a very mediocre Scotland team, and then you beat a very average Czech team. In the knockouts, you beat a flat-out bad German team. You beat a very poor Ukraine team. You scraped by an average Danish team whose best player was on the brink of death. And then you lost to Italy in the final. Now it was penalties, but you lost. That Italy team was decent. Wasn't good. Was decent. It would be a mid-table Premier League team. 22 World Cup. So who did you beat in that competition, by the way? Germany and Croatia. A very mediocre German team. and a Croatian team that don't tend to perform all that well in European competition. The last World Cup, in the group stage, Iran, a draw with the United States, who are average, and a win over a bad Welsh team. Tremendous stuff. Round of 16, you beat a fairly average Senegal, and then you lost to France. You played one good team, and you lost to them. And here at these Euros, played a bad Serbian team, a mediocre Danish team, and a mediocre Slovenian team. You won one of those games. You played a mediocre Slovakia team. You should have been knocked out. You got very fortunate that Jude Bellingham pulled a bison kick out of his arse in the last minute. You played a very mediocre Swiss team and needed penalties to get by them. You played a very average Dutch team and needed an enormous helping hand from the referee to get by them. And the one good team you played in this tournament, you lost to. So over the 4 tournaments that he has overseen, the best result against the best opponent was a group stage win over Croatia, who generally don't perform well at the Euros anyway because they're more focused on the World Cup. Like, I'm not being funny, but the record is trash. It's trash. He's had easy paths, and he's failed every time. He lost every good team he played in 2018. He lost to the only good team they played in 2022, and he lost to the only good team they played in 2024. If England want to win anything, if they want to progress, Gareth Southgate needs to go. Simple as that. I'll be back after the break. Right, welcome back. So, following the Euro 2024 final, we had the Copa America 2024 final. And I suppose it's important to point out here that the final descended into chaos long before kickoff due to ticketing issues. I'd imagine a small amount of people getting into the stadium without tickets, and then organisers doing organiser things, not wanting a repeat of what happened in 2021 at the final of Euro 2020 at Wembley, when thousands upon thousands of English fans stormed the stadium and caused absolute bedlam. But there's absolutely no question that in typical, football fashion and football organisation fashion, fans were put last here, and people were badly treated. People were very badly treated and put unnecessarily at risk. And it was quite traumatic for a lot of Argentine fans and a lot of Colombian fans as well, obviously. There's more and more video emerging of people having to scale walls and scale things to get into a stadium to watch a game for which they had a ticket. There will be a small number that didn't have tickets and were doing the same. But look, at the end of the day, fans were priced out of this final. People were paying $1,500 to sit way up in the nosebleed sections. And I get that, tensions are pretty high in America at the moment after what happened on Saturday night. But there's no reason for the way this was carried on. No reason at all. And there's a World Cup coming in 2 years, and they better get their shit together. Security at this tournament has been poor in general. You can point to CONCACAF, you can point to... I don't know. I don't even know who you can point to. Can you point at the stadiums themselves and the management of those stadiums, the security employed at those stadiums? A CONMEBOL, I don't know. I don't know who you point to and say it's your fault, but it's a collective failure, and it needs to improve drastically. We saw what happened after the Colombia-Uruguay game. We saw what happened before this game, and it put a bad taste in the mouth being truthful. And it meant that this game didn't kick off for an hour and a half after it was meant to kick off, which, look, the atmosphere got going, but it was a very strange atmosphere to begin the game. It was an interesting first half. Colombia definitely the better team. Argentina playing quite cagey. Argentina, I thought, would be the team easier to adapt to the delay and all of that kind of stuff, just because of their experience. But it seemed like it had a more negative impact on them. Lionel Messi was not fit and should not have played. He made no impact on the game and eventually had to be taken off because of the injury. And when he took his boot and sock off on the sideline, his ankle looked like a bowling ball. It was swollen, deformed. It just looked horrendous. And he was clearly very emotional and in quite a bit of pain. But without him, his team got the job done. They got the game to 90 minutes. They had some decent chances. They had a goal disallowed. They made the right changes at the right time. Brought on Laturo, brought on Lo Celso, brought on Paredes, and those three combined to win the game for Argentina. Now, Paredes as part of this will be forgotten to history because it will go down as goal Martinez, assist Lo Celso. But it's the two actions of Paredes that create this goal. Number one, a brilliant recovery tackle to win the ball back on the halfway line as Colombia started to break. Number two, as the ball was returned to him, firing that pass into Lo Celso, who's able to play that first-time ball to Laturo, and it's a brilliant finish. It is a brilliant finish worthy of winning any competition. And I'm delighted for Laturo because off the back of the 2022 World Cup, he had lost his place. Remember, he was the starting number 9 going into that competition. He lost his place. He didn't play well. He got a lot of criticism despite the fact that Argentina won the World Cup. But now he has his moment, and not just this moment. He wins the Golden Boot for the competition as well with 5 goals. And Messi can't be around forever. But for Argentina to know that they have Lautaro Martinez and Julian Alvarez, 26 and 24, as their front two moving forward, that's something to be very positive about. We saw the final international game of Angel Di Maria, put in a hell of a shift, carried a threat as he always does. He will be a loss. But they have Matthias Sula to step in. Now, they will lose the leadership and the experience, but when you look around this team is full of leaders. And now it's full of experience. Players who have won multiple international tournaments. And if we go back and we look at the Copa America squad of Argentina from the last Copa, Armani, he's there. Martinez, he's there. Tagliafico, Montiel, Paredes, Pizzella, De Paul, Acuna, Messi, Romero, Palacios, Nicolas Gonzalez, Guido Rodriguez, Nicolas Otamendi, Giovanni Lo Celso, Lautaro Martinez, Emi Martinez, Lisandro Martinez, Nahuel Molina, Julian Alvarez, and Juan Musso. All of those players were in this squad. Have I missed anybody? I'm not sure if I've missed anybody. Let's have a quick gander. Let's just pull the squads up side by side. Squads. There we go. Right. Armani, Martinez Porta, Tagliafico, Montiel, Paredes, Pizzella, De Paul, Acuna, Messi, Di Maria, of the goalkeeping group, the one difference is that Emi Martinez is now the number 1. At that point, Armani was the number one. Marchesen was in the squad. He's now gone from the squad. So 2 of the 3 goalkeepers are there. Defensively, it's exactly the same group. Martinez, Quarta, Tagliafico, Montiel, Pizzella, Acuna, Romero, Otamendi, Lissandro, and Nahuel Molina. It's exactly the same group. In midfield, Paredes, De Paul, Lo Celso, Palacios, Guido Rodriguez, and Di Maria. So you've got Alexis and Enzo have been added to the group in place of Nicolas Dominguez and Papu Gomez. So you got 2 changes to the midfield group. And then in the attack, Alvarez is still there, Laturo is still there, Messi's still there, Nicolas Gonzalez is still there. Angel Correa did not play in this one. Joaquin Correa did not play in this one, and Aguero did not play in this one. But Garnacho and Valentin Carboni have come into the squad. Like, that's a ferocious amount of players that have been there now for both Copas. And obviously most of this squad were also at the last World Cup. Now you have all these players, like even the ones like Alexis and Enzo, who weren't in the squad in 2021. They were in the squad for the World Cup. They were starters in the World Cup. This Argentina team is already vastly experienced at international level, vastly experienced at winning things. And when you look at the group, we know Di Maria will retire from international football. I assume Messi will play to the next World Cup. There is a question over whether Otamendi does. He may well retire. Armani will probably retire from international football. But I think everybody else could still be around. And you look at the young group, like you've only got Garnacho and Carboni who are under 23. This is their first tournament. Sula will come into that mix. This Argentina team are going nowhere. And I think enormous credit has to go to how this team has been put together by Scaloni. Because when we consider Argentina, we always think of them as one of the true greats of international football, like one of those teams that's just always going to be among the favourites. And we ignore the fact that prior to this man taking over, they hadn't won the Copa America since 1993. They hadn't won the World Cup since 1986. And now they become only the second team to win 3 international tournaments in a row. He becomes the first manager to win 3 international tournaments in a row, because obviously that great Spain team had Luis Aragonés for the 2008 Euros and then Vicente Del Bosque for the World Cup and second Euros. Scaloni has overseen all of this. They hadn't had any international success since 1993. It had been 28 years since Argentina had won anything. And now in 3 years, they've won 3 major international tournaments. And they won the Finalissima. So technically, this is the most accomplished, most successful international team of all time. That is an incredible achievement. And again, so many of the players have won 2 or 3 or all 4 of these medals. This is the type of stuff that Argentinian fans could only have dreamed of. Like, they had Maradona and didn't do this. They had Mario Kempes and didn't do this. They had prime Lionel Messi and didn't do this. Like, Lionel Messi is the oldest player in the squad now, which is quite something. Lionel Messi is now 37 years of age. He was 34 before he won his first international tournament. It was the one thing that people always held over him. He hasn't won an international trophy. Especially after Portugal won in 2016. Despite the fact Cristiano going off early is the primary reason they won that final. They tried to hold that as, oh, well, Cristiano's done it at international level, but Messi hasn't. Even though Cristiano was garbage in that tournament. They were trying to hold that above this gentleman. And now he has just killed that narrative. Absolutely demolished it. What a fabulous way for his international career to culminate. And like I say, I do think he will play in 2026. Now, whether he's a starter or a squad player, I don't know. I could see him being a really valuable squad player. Can he be a starter in 2 years? I have doubts. He'll be 39 years of age. Now, he could play till 45 and still be a better player than Cristiano has been the last 4 or 5 years, because he's also a playmaker. He's super intelligent. He's team-orientated. But you're talking about a lot of games in a short period of time. And I think it would take a big toll on him and wear him down. I saw something the other day, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to say it anyway. Lamine Yamal could accumulate 50 goals and assists on average. He could average 50 goals and assists for the next 21 years. And he would have 1,073 goals and assists for his career. Lionel Messi has 1,090. Imagine averaging 50 goals and assists for that long and still falling short of what this guy's done. And the honours, when you just see them, he won an Olympic gold medal, he won a World Cup, 2 Copa Americas, finalissima. He has completed the set. There are obviously other players that have won the World Cup and whether it's the Copa, whether it's the Euros, other players have done that. There are players that have won a World Cup and 2 continental trophies, like a lot of that Spanish squad did. Unfortunately for them, they didn't get to win a finalissima because they didn't get to play in one. But none of them won an Olympic gold medal. None of them. This is uncharted territory for anybody to have done what he's done. Like, it's very hard to know how to fully react to it. And like, the last thing that the Cristiano perverts can hold over Messi is that their fella won 5 Champions Leagues and Messi's only won 4. But I think the international side more than makes up for it. I think it more than, like, a World Cup, so much harder to win. They only happen every 4 years. It's a very short list of players that have won 2. You know? To win 1 is an incredible achievement. And it can't be held against Messi that he didn't win more than 1, because he carried a team to a final and was let down by his teammates. Go back and watch the 2014 World Cup. I beg you to go back and watch it. And watch what he was doing in those games. And then watch the final. The fact that Lionel Messi doesn't have 2 World Cups has nothing to do with Lionel Messi. The fact that he should have 2 World Cups has everything to do with Lionel Messi. His teammates let him down. Argentina should have won that final. Now, Germany were the better team. There's no question. Man for man, Germany were the better team. Go back and watch that final. Even watch the semi-final. They needed penalties to get past the Dutch. Go back and watch that. Watch those 2 games. But his international career stands above Cristiano and anybody else of the generation. It stands on par with anything. Like, I know certain players have 3 World Cups, and maybe they'll make a claim of that. But to win 3 in major international tournaments in a row is phenomenal. To win an Olympic gold medal alongside that is pretty impressive. I really enjoyed this Argentine team. They weren't at their best. But they got the job done. James Rodriguez was voted the player of the tournament. I think I did mention Rodri was voted player of the tournament in the Euros. I would have given it to Fabian Ruiz. I had no issue with James getting this award fully deserved, in my opinion. Lautaro wins the Golden Boot. The Euros Golden Boot was split between 6 players, which is a farce. Dani Olmo was the Golden Boot winner. He had the same number of goals as the other 5, but he had more assists. He should have got it. Best goalkeeper here was given to Emi Martinez, and the Fair Play Award was given to Colombia. Yeah. I really enjoyed this tournament. I did. Uruguay finished 3rd. On Saturday, they beat Canada on penalties. I did tell people before, I've been telling people for ages, Ismael Kone is a boy to watch. He was the best player in that game. Bentancur put Uruguay 1 up. Kone equalised with a great goal. Kone made the what we thought was going to be the winner for Jonathan David, but Luis Suarez scoring in the 92nd minute, and then we went to penalties. And unfortunately for Kone, he missed his, but so did Alphonso Davies. David, Bombito, and Chanier, they scored theirs. Valverde, Bentancur, Diarcheta, and Suarez all scored for Uruguay. And Uruguay finished 3rd. So Argentina 1st, Colombia 2nd, Uruguay 3rd. Canada a very, very, very respectful 4th, and very unfortunate not to get 3rd. Overall, I really enjoyed the tournament. I think there was definitely some organisational snafus, we're going to call them to be polite. But I'm thrilled for Argentina, and I'm already excited now that we will get Argentina versus Spain in a Finalissima next year, which I think should be a really good game. Oh, is it not going to be? The audience? Yeah. So it's 2024. 2025. It will be Argentina versus Spain, but we don't yet know where it's going to be. This is the issue. We don't yet know where it's going to be. The last one was at Wembley. In 93, Argentina played Denmark in Argentina and beat them on penalties. In 85, France beat Uruguay in France. So I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I'm hopeful that based on this, France played it in Europe. Argentina was in Argentina. Denmark was in Argentina. The last one was in Europe. I'm hopeful the next one will be in South America. So Spain would have to travel over. And I think that's the fairest way to do it, is to rotate it continent to continent. Does it say here? And two organizations part of a joint agreement. Possibility of staging matches. It was confirmed that the agreement was reached. They're going to do it. It seems like the idea is to do 3. So we had 1. This will be 2, and there'll be 1 more after this. But it doesn't say where it's going to be held. They didn't say if they were going to rotate it through the continents or what. I wouldn't be overly surprised if the game took place in, like, Saudi Arabia or somewhere, if it was sold to the highest bidder. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that took place. But I'm looking forward to it either way. And now I'm going to go to break. I'll be back after this. Right, welcome back. So just to catch up on transfers that were done over the weekend, Renato Vega to Chelsea was completed. Jacob Greaves to Ipswich is completed. That's a really good get for Ipswich. And Malik Yalkoi joining Brighton. That's a good get for them. Troy Parrott leaves Tottenham to go to AZ Alkmaar. Liam Delap's move to Ipswich was also completed. So Ipswich doing well in the market. Nathaniel Chalobah has joined Sheffield Wednesday. Yukinari Sugawara joining Southampton. Josh Zirkzee signed for United. Callum Chambers joined Cardiff. And Kiefer Moore has signed for Sheffield United. Apparently they won the race. I would imagine it was a very slow race, but maybe just one team in it. Let's go. Gossip time. Newcastle are preparing to launch another attempt to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's Football Insider. It's probably trash. Napoli remain interested in Romelu Lukaku. It's Sky Sports. May or may not be true. Mario Balotelli is in talks to join Corinthians as a free agent. That's a good move for Mario. Barcelona are close to being in a financial position that allows them to target Nico Williams, according to La Liga boss Javier Tebas. Arsenal are close to agreeing a deal for Ricardo Calafiori, according to Football Insider. So again, probably nonsense, but they are negotiating, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere for the moment. It'll probably get done today, based on me saying that. Kepa is in talks with Al Ittihad over a move to Saudi Arabia. Laurent Blanc has been named the new Al Ittihad manager. Troy Parrott. Desiree Doué is set to decide between Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain if he leaves Rennes this summer. Tottenham are interested in bringing him to North London, though. Lyon are close to signing Alejandro Gomez Rodriguez. He's a young England under-16 international. I believe that deal got done over the weekend. Saul Niguez is leaving Atletico Madrid to join Sevilla. Juventus are interested in signing Jadon Sancho. United are still open to selling Sancho, even though he has been reintegrated into training at Old Trafford. England players' families are facing major traffic difficulties in getting to Berlin in time for the Euros final. All tough. Let's see. Manchester City have received a bid of £25 million for Ederson. I'd imagine that just gets turned down without any consideration if it's true. United are keen to sell Victor Lindelof and will also listen to offers for Christian Eriksen. Chelsea are set to rival Tottenham, Bayern and Paris Saint-Germain for Doué. United are interested in Ivan Toney. It's Christian Falk, so it's trash. Como are set to sign Rafa Varane. West Ham have an interest in Steven Bergwijn, but Marseille and 2 Saudi Arabian clubs are also interested. Atletico Madrid are expected to give AC Milan the go-ahead to sign Alvaro Morata. It seems that one's going to get done. AC Milan are interested in Nikos Füllkrug. That's not going to happen now because they're getting Morata. United will have to offload Sancho, before they pursue a move for Kodioglu. I don't think that's true. Everton, West Ham and Newcastle are set to miss out on Federico Gatti, who is going to commit his future to Juventus. Don't think they're missing out too much. He's decent, but he's only a squad defender, really. Nuno Tavares on the verge of joining Lazio on loan from Arsenal. Leicester are ready to offer 21.5 million from Matthias Sula. I hope... I'd love to see him come to England and play. That doesn't make sense to me, that move. They already have Fatua who plays the same position. I think they could spend their money in different ways. Alan St-Maximin is set to leave Al Ahly to link up with Jose Mourinho at Fenerbahce. Arsenal, Manchester United and Aston Villa are all in the running for Viktor Shankov. I don't think that's true. I think that's his agent trying to get him a new deal. Nottingham Forest have opened negotiations with Fiorentina for Nikola Milinkovic. That would be a good signing. New Juventus boss Thiago Motta has requested photographs of every employee at the Turin club so he can learn all of their names. Mark Guehi is wanted by Liverpool, who have begun negotiations to sign him from Crystal Palace. I don't believe that to be true, but we'll see. Adam Wharton will turn down interest from Man City, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid to stay at Crystal Palace. I don't think that's true. I think that's just lies. Arsenal have reached an agreement to sign Tommy Setford from Ajax. Wolves are leading the race to sign Ahmed Hodzic from Sheffield United to replace Max Kilman. I could see that one making sense, to be fair. Arsenal are favourites to beat Aston Villa to the signing of Mikel Moreno. I'm not sure I believe that. Manchester City will hold talks with Julian Alvarez. They want to keep him, but he wants to leave, so we'll see what happens. City plan to sign Dani Olmo by triggering his release clause. Now, this is funny, because that's Di Marzio who said that, and his little protege, Romano, has then gone on to say he doesn't think it's true. Manchester United are set to sign 23-year-old Norwegian striker Elizabeth Turland from Brighton. Jakub Kivor will be allowed to leave Arsenal this summer. He's attracting interest from Serie A clubs. Liverpool have made Gonçalo Inácio a priority target. No, they haven't. Juventus are keen on Teun Koopmeiners, who has also been linked with Liverpool. Now, everybody knows Juventus are keen on him, but the journalist that's saying this is Rudy Galletti. The only journalist who said Liverpool have interest in Teun Koopmeiners is Rudy Galletti, so it's most likely untrue. That's me for today, folks. I will be back tomorrow. I think I might not be here Thursday. I think that's looking like I might just have to do a few bits and pieces for the Owl Pair. So I might not be here Thursday, but I'll be here the rest of the week. So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.